Next going in, the inductee, is the late Arnold Chappo Riesgo, an athlete, Tucson High School baseball player. They said he was one of the best catchers ever to come out of the Tucson area. He played under Pop McKale baseball at the U of A, went in the Army, played pro ball 1945 to 55, played and coached with the St. Louis and Boston Red Sox organization. Also coached in Cactus Little League. I played in that league too. Interesting about guys that that served in World War II, and there were a lot of players that lost 3 or 4 years of their career by in the war. People forget that. Bob Feller, he served in the war. He told me later on, and we here in Tucson in spring training, he said he came back from the war. He couldn't throw again. He didn't think he was going to pitch again. But he's got his arm back in shape. And Ted Williams served in World War II and the Korean War also. So these guys, they could have had long time careers in Major League Baseball, but they served in the war, and that took a lot of time away from them. They never complained about it though. Here's his son, John Riesgo. Thank you, Tommy.
Good evening. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be up here receiving this award for my dad. We represented here with my family, my mom and my brother and my 2 sisters, and a lot of family. I think we have 5 tables. Between the Coronados and the Riesgo clan, we probably have 140 people plus. Thank you for coming and supporting. Dad bled baseball. He later bled Dodger blue. But that's all they did growing up. I got to talk to Buddy Granger. My sister Mary and I met with Buddy to find out how to get Dad in, because he said he should be in. And we sat in his living room for an hour, hour and a half, and did the preliminary and learned a lot more about my dad that we didn't know. And one of them was that Buddy Granger and my dad were, growing up, they were inseparable. Everywhere, if you saw one, you saw the other, along with the likes of someone by the name of Fred Ink. So there were some heavy hitters there, and we had to get 3 letters written from other people as to why Dad should be elected into the Hall of Fame. So being that we got 3 letters, I forget who the first one was, but Fred Ink and Bud Granger had a lot of pull apparently, because we got in within the next year. The first year we missed it, we were a little late. And after reading an actual handwritten letter from Fred Ink that we will have forever, I think had something to do with it, and I do thank both of them, and I know they're not here today, but thank you. Since his induction, we spent a lot of time going through about 4 scrapbooks that had to be rebuilt because they went traveling for a long period of time when Dad was playing ball. And we learned a lot reading through those scrapbooks. And one of the things that I did learn was that the state championships, I knew they won them, but I just didn't know the detail. And they won one in 1939, and he also lettered in basketball at Tucson High. Believe it or not, Chappo lettered in basketball, if you knew him, okay? But he graduated from high school at midterm and signed a letter to go to the University of Arizona in 1941. And he did play for 1 year for Pop McKale. And then he got drafted. He made a decision. It was a very hard decision for him to make. And he actually met with Pop McKale in his living room, who was a second father to him, as to decide on what to do. Do I play baseball or do I go to school? And he chose to play baseball with the help of Pop McKale making that decision. Well, then that started off what he thought would be a long career of playing baseball, which it was. Except that World War II was going on at the time, and a year later he was drafted, and he knew he would be drafted. His friends were already being drafted, some of them already joined, and some of them were already off fighting. Dad fought in the South Pacific Theater the whole time that he was in the service. He came home with an honorable discharge after the war, December 28th, 1945. And I didn't know this, but he also came home with 2 Bronze Stars and other awards from the war. I didn't know that. We can't find the Bronze Stars. But we're going to work on trying to get a copy of those along to put with his flag. But it says a lot. And then he came home from the war. Prior to this, we had purchased a movie. My wife got it for me because I love war history. And it's about World War II in both the Pacific theater as well as the European theater. And it flips back and forth. And my daughter, Chesley, my youngest, we're all watching it together. And she goes, "Dad, how did Grandpa come home and cope with what she's seeing on TV. And I said, honey, he had baseball to come home to. This was his outlet, this little ball right here. Our soldiers today are coming home to something a little different. They're coming home to 10% unemployment plus, and things are a little tougher. Dad had baseball. So when he came home, he went right into baseball and never missed a beat. And later, he was playing in the Mexican leagues in the wintertime and met my mom. Thanks, Mom. And later on, and she got to travel and live the high life. They were traveling all over Georgia and San Jose. They were traveling a bit. Dad was playing a lot of minor league ball, and that's where he was at. He coached and he also managed for 10 years. And in 1954, there was a screeching sound of a lifestyle change. It happened to be April 29th, 1954. That was the year my sister was born. And as we know, when we have children, our lifestyles change. We start a new chapter in our life. A year after that, Dad pretty much hung up baseball and started another chapter in his life. But what a ride you had. I'm up for 10 years playing that game. And traveling in Hazelhurst. So my sister was actually born in Hazelhurst. So she's a Georgia peach, believe it or not. You know, Dad had a unique sense of humor. Along with his athletic talent, he really did have a great sense of humor. When he was in the service, after a year, he wrote a letter to the local draft board thanking them for his glorious vacation in the South Pacific, and it didn't cost him a dime. And in the scrapbook where that letter is, where it says thanks, he's got an arrow going to it, and it says, I must have been nuts. We have all that. It's an unbelievable read. He also passed away on our wedding anniversary, my wife Cindy and my wedding anniversary. It was a time where we didn't even realize it happened until after it happened. And I think he did it on purpose so I wouldn't forget what day he passed away. Honey, what day was it? But that's the way he was. And if you knew my dad, and I know there really isn't maybe a very small handful of people outside the family that knew Dad as to how he was. You know, one of the biggest regrets is that my dad's not here to accept this award and this great tribute. He did pass away 16 years ago, and he would have been honored and humbled to know that his talents and achievements as an athlete, coach, manager were recognized. On behalf of our family, we want to thank you for the privilege of seeing our dad get this award. Also, I know it was a hard decision for the committee to make because Dad's been gone a long time. It's hard to find people that knew stuff about Dad, and they had to do some digging. And I really think with help of Bud Granger and some letters that were written, made it a little easier for them to select Dad for this event. I really also want to share this honor with our soldiers who have fought in the past, who are fighting today, and who will fight tomorrow to keep this country the country that it is, so that we can come here as a group free to receive these honors and to continue our lifestyles as a free American and play this little game of baseball. Thank you, and God bless.